Hello, Java developers. Hi, and welcome everybody. We are here in the Riyadh Java user group with a very interesting talk. So here is our talk in Riyadh Java user group. This is Muad bin Ali. I'm a principal software engineer. I am the organizer of the Riyadh Java user group, and I'm very, very glad to have Juan. Juan is a really experienced Java developer, has been more than 10 years in software engineering, and he is playing with the test containers, with the unit testing. I read a couple of his articles, really good articles to read. So let's jump to the our guest here, Juan. Please go ahead and introduce yourself more, and let's jump to that talk.
Sure. Well, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, I am a senior software developer with some years of experience now. I'm happy to share some knowledge and some tools we can use to improve our testing and refactoring activities as developers. So let's write in. Yeah, the main topic is about integration tests and test containers. Let me start with an history about it. Some years ago, I was in a project. The main goal was integrate two systems, a common task, but it had some complexities. First, the one system was written in PHP. I know we are in a Java user group, but sometimes we deal with other languages. So that system was written in PHP and need to talk with another system that use SOAP protocol. SOAP protocol support in PHP is not as good as it should be. It brings a initial complexity. That's one. The other complexity, in order to test two systems, I need to use a VPN, but that VPN was unreliable. Sometimes it has connectivity, sometimes it goes down, so it was a mess. And sometimes also when the VPN connectivity was good, the system was down. So if you imagine all this scenario, we have complexity and we have an unreliability, reliable experience. So at the end, my feel was this is a nightmare. This is a whole problem. How I can do to improve this? I feel bad. I was complaining how I can test this or improve my developer experience. So after our research, I found a tool. It was a mock server. Is a tool back in Docker container that you can use to use a pattern that it calls record replay in order to record interactions, and after that you can replay that interaction. So I introduced that tool and record some interactions, and after that I replay that. The whole experience was pretty different. The testing was reliable. The whole experience doesn't depend of the VPN of the or the system behind the scenes. I can develop with more confidence, right? So Testcontainers is a tool that help us to manage containers like mock server or databases and manage all these life cycle. If you need to talk with external dependencies, you can use and that dependency could built in a container, you can use a test container. So yeah, when I introduced test container and mock server, the whole developer experience was pretty different, and I feel much better. So let's start with a question. Did you experience some complex scenario like this in the past? It's an open question for the audience.
Let's see the audience. Uh, One is asking if anybody has experienced this issue before, where the testing is a nightmare, and also you can test from different languages, these things. Uh, yeah, personally, I am facing this really when you want to like to test the whole software together, and sometimes the software like maybe by this as a third party system, and you don't have control really on this system. So yeah, these are really good candidates.
Yeah, and also with the introduction of microservice architecture, this is the common a common problem. We need to interact with external services, internal services, databases, messaging, cloud technologies, and so on. So yeah, we need to find a different way to improve our testing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
Well, how we can start with test container? Let's review a little bit about what is testing. Well, testing is a common task that we as developers need to perform in our applications, not only to verify the behavior. I understand test like a tool that for protect or guard our systems of future changes, because always we will receive new feature to implement new bug fixes to implement how we can assure that the whole system experience maintains the same behavior if we don't have testing. So it's a excellent tool for refactoring. There are a concept introduced by Mike and Cohn about test levels, and he introduced a pyramid behind that. It says he says we can use unit tests. The main goal of unit tests is test use code with code like classes against classes. It the main idea is try to use unit tests without external dependencies, because unit tests need to be fast, pretty fast, and running in a millisecond, and test and verify business logic. The second level is integration test. The main difference is integration test has bring some complexity, because with integration test we need to talk with external dependencies, files, databases, web services, messaging. And what is the main issue with that? Well, first the connectivity. We need to make sure we have connectivity with those external resources. And the other complexity is how we can manage the state of that external dependency. Because if we are running a test against a database, we need to have always the same results. That not need to be consistent. So it brings a complexity. We need to connect with external dependencies and also manage somehow the state. And after that, we have like UI tests or test end-to-end tests that test not only the external dependencies. It could be against a mobile application or against a web browser. So it brings more complexity, because you need to manage if it is a web browser, you need to manage the state of the browser, the cookie, the authorization, and behind that, the the backend, and behind that the external resources. So you need to manage all that stuff. So it's more work for us.
So here there was one question, Mr. Juan. So yeah, as you said, we have three types of testing.
Mhm.
So the first testing is the smallest part of that testing, which is should be very quick. Then there is another bigger part, which is the integration test. And we can see also the UI test, the biggest one, because let's say this is the full system testing from A to Z. So maybe the question is that as we Java developers, where is our role in the unit test and integration test and in the UI test?
Well, that's a great question, and also um, uh, nowadays a new concept is in the like over there that this is not more a pyramid. Right now, it should be a diamond because
Okay,
we are working in a microservice environment where talk with external dependencies is the common use case. So we need to pay great attention to unit tests always as a foundation, but we need to take care also the integration part. That's a big role that we need to to take and make sure that all this integration with external services behavior we expect. So at least we need to focus on unit, but this is only the basis. But and integration, it should be our next goal.
okay, sounds good. Yes, thank you.
Well, I was as I was mentioned, yeah, unit test should be the foundation, but yeah, we need to take care of integration tests, and nowadays with microservices is something that we need to do. Test communication with beyond the business logic. Well, now we have test containers. Test containers is a library, it's a Java library we can use for manage all these external dependencies lifecycle. First, it creates and run a container, and it take care of manage the state the contain of the container, initialize the container if needed, and after all the testing is completed, shut down and kill all the external resource. So behind the scenes, it is reliable experience when we introduce a test container, and behind the scenes it use Docker. We need to play with both. So test container we can think like a layer of Docker to manage all the states and initialization behavior that could be complex. We can use Docker for that, but it's pretty complex without test container. So I know we are in a Java user group, but yeah, it's nice to know that this container only support Java. It supports different languages like Go, .NET, Python, Rust. So you can use it for that. Well, behind Java we have the JVM, so you can use Groovy, Scala, Kotlin, all those languages that use the JVM. So we can use with that with all these languages as well. It has several modes and already with already with a big group of the dependencies ready to use is something pretty nice. I have model for databases, SQL and NoSQL databases, Postgres, MySQL, MariaDB, and Mongo, all the Redis. You can use all these kind of databases. And also you need to think that everything can run in a container is something that you can use for with test container as well. Also, you can use cloud resources behind the scenes for AWS. It uses local stacks, and it's pretty nice. I was using in the past, and it is a pretty nice experience, and also save some money because you don't need to use um, cloud services for testing. For sure, you can use messaging, Kafka, and integration with APIs, with mock servers, Solar, and Bowl for keys. You can use all that. And also, as I mentioned before, generic containers. If you can build the Docker container, you can use it with test containers. And what are the requirements for JVM applications? Well, Docker. We need something to run the containers. And if we are using JUnit for testing, JUnit Jupyter. Just use these two. And it uses some annotations. The main one is test container. This annotation handles all the life cycle of the container in the specific unit test. It starts the containers and closing up and clean all the resources after the test. And well, you need to use a reference to the container, so that's the container annotation. So far, any question?
Yeah, I don't see any questions so far. Yeah, I think there is one question in my mind, if you don't mind, one. Because while I was playing with test containers, if I want to like run an integration test, it is saying that you must your Docker engine must be firstly started, then I can play with the test containers. So the question is that if I don't have Docker engine, if I have like Podman from Red Hat, if I have any container D implementation, or it is must only for Docker, if I have Podman, anything else other than Docker engine.
That's a
Which one?
great question. In the website of the container, it shows all the runners that are compatible, and they update that page regularly. I suggest just check the website if they are also adding support for new runtimes, and also something that we need to take care if we are running different architecture like with Mac N1 chips, or Intel machines with different uh, CPU architecture. We need to take care of use the right image, because one RM chip image is not compatible with Intel. So that's something that we need to care. But yeah, we'll need to check if in the website if they are adding support for new tools. But for sure, Docker is one of the more common ones. Is battle tested, but yeah, maybe they are adding new support. I don't know if they already support Podman, but yeah, we can check.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I think there is a comment from Muhammad Amin. Firstly, he's using local stack for AWS. He's saying
Mhm.
it's very powerful.
Yes.
Uh, so local stack, can you give us like a very very brief about local stack? Is it like same as using test container, or it is like a different framework for test containers? Or
Yeah, local stack is a different framework, but Testcontainer is compatible with that. They provide a way to test local resources locally. So you don't
okay,
need to connect to a Kinesis a stream. No, you can up and run a Docker image that use the same API and the same communication protocol that Kinesis, but locally. So you can
Mm,
manage that state. So at the end, it's like running some services in the cloud using containers in your machine. So
mm,
that's the main idea. So you can test real communication, authorization, like S3 or uploading or download files. You can test all this behavior without connect to the real cloud service and with some confidence because they use the same protocol and also they update this image regularly. So if AWS introduces a new feature, it could be possible that they already support. So you can check all these advanced and without need to pay for the cloud services. So that's
mm.
a good option. So maybe make the connection the first time and verify the cloud is behaving as we expect. But after that, you can build all the pipelines and all your integration tests against a local stack through test containers. So you can do that.
Yeah, it's really amazing. So local stack is like it can be used with test containers, or they are like separated.
Can be used with test container and also you can use without test containers.
Mm, good, good.
You
So
can you
yeah, I
can
think
use in both scenarios.
yeah, nice, nice. So Muhammad is Muhammad Amin is saying also. Uh, he's explaining the local stack. He's saying it's a mechanism to test AWS services locally. And he's saying also before you do the deployment on your infra, you can test using local stack. That's really amazing. Thank you, Mohammed.
Yeah,
Good,
that's right.
good. So you can carry on one.
Yeah, I have a demo to share. I'll show you a small application with two interactions or two integrations. One integration is with a Postgres database, and another integration is with an external API, and how we can use test container for that. Let me share here. Okay. Please let me know if you can see my screen. I think yes. Okay. Well, here I have a simple Java application. I'm not using here any framework. I'm not using here Spring Boot or Quarkus or all the frameworks are available now, just to show how this technology plays with just plain Java. If you are using Spring Boot or if you are using Quarkus, the integration is smoother also, but you can use this framework without any specific library behind the scenes. So that's pretty nice. As I was mentioned earlier, I have the dependency here. I have Postgres, uh, database pool, JUnit for testing, some library for assertion, and the main one here is test containers. Um, I'm using the database module with Postgres, so it's here, and also I'm using mock server here with test container and some additional setup. Also, I want to mention that at the end I'll share the link with these slides, all the whole source code, so you can download and play with it. So this is the initial setup. Let's see the application itself. Here we have an album client. The main goal of this class is communicate with an external services and get some data from that service. That's the initial behavior. You see here is just a plain HTTP client, and go to the service and read the values and return the body. Just it's something simple. Let's see how I can test this. You see here, the input will be the base URL. So in the test, I use mock server for that. Let's see the structure here in the test. First, I add the test container annotation. That's the main one, and it's required to manage all the life cycle of the containers. Later, I have here the container declaration. You see here, I can use the um, a specific image, so you can play with that and use different versions. And IntelliJ ID has a big support of discovery here, so you can change the version here. It's pretty nice how it integrates with this syntax. So you can change the version here and play with it. And here, something that I adding here is the static keyword that's needed used for share this container with all the tests. If we not don't declare this dependent attribute as static, it create a new container for each test. So it depends of your goal. If you want to reuse this container in all this test class, you declare as static. If you want to create a new container for each test, just declare as a regular field. And here, here I am testing the communication with the external service. I initialize the class with a specific URL. This URL is built dynamic by mock server. I get the host, I get the server port. The good thing behind the scene is you don't need to manage the specific server port. You know, maybe we can in our local machines we have many applications running, and maybe this port is already used for another application. Mock server take care of that. It use the right server port without conflicts. That's also pretty nice. We are running this test in CI continuous integration environment, because maybe we have multiple test suites running at the same time. So it takes care of use different port without conflicts. So that's always is a good experience. Well, and I send the request and I expect the result. How I can configure the response here. Well, here I have the some interactions with the server I have. If I receive a get in this path, it will return the specific behavior I wrote here. A status code, a specific body, and you can play with that. You can add delay, you can add error responses. You can play with all these response. And the one benefit behind the scenes, if you are, for example, working with a mapping library like Jackson or JSON to deserialize your JSON body, you can test that scenario. With that, you can play. You can change all this, and you know that the whole life cycle of the request is tested. Well, at the end, I'm closing the container. Let's see how it runs. You see here. Also, it runs pretty quickly. I'm sharing a screen, so maybe it's not as quickly as I expect, but it runs usually in milliseconds. Here is almost a second, but with a sharing screen, it should be fast. So let's see how it manages the resources. Here I have my containers, and let's put a breakpoint here to verify what it happens behind the scenes. Let's see the test in slow motion. Yeah, at this point, we can think, well, if I'm using test container, I will see in the in my list of containers use mock server. That's the server I'm using. Let's see what we have. Let's see in containers. We have two containers. That's interesting. We have mock server here, but what is this container? Well, this is one of the major feature of test container. This Ryuk container is the container that listen all the services we are running and it take care of shutdown. So if you see this Ryuk container, the main goal of this Ryuk container is follow all this container in the test and shut down properly. And if we continue with the test, you will see first mock server is down, but in a couple of seconds will be also down. So the whole life cycle is managed by the framework. Close the mock server, and if we are running a different container as well, Rio will take care of that.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And let's see a different example with a Docker database. Here, let me show the model I have. I have a small application used with a Postgres database. The main idea of this application is store different applications with some details. If you see something common, use a primary key, use a name, but here is where everything changed. We are introducing a specific data type that is available in this database. So that's where test container shines, because we can test complex scenarios like this. Let's imagine we have store procedures, a specific feature for Postgres or for Oracle or for a specific database. How we can test that in a reliable way without expect connectivity issues, all that stuff, but with test container. Here, if you see here in the initialization script, I insert some JSON documents with some details like image of the product, version of the product, and it's a JSON document. You can add the field you want or just leave it. So you can play with that. And the implementation is pretty simple. We have a repository here, just plain Java with JDBC, nothing fancy. And the code behind the scenes is just implementation of the interface. And you see here, I'm using a specific syntax for this database. This details arrow version is a specific syntax from Postgres database to test or for checking inside the JSON document. So it will check if details, the details JSON document has this version property and it's not known. So it's something that is available in Postgres. So you can test this scenario with a memory database like H2 or HSQL. You need to use a Postgres database for testing that. And the behavior is still is more or less the same. In the unit test, you will see more or less the same setup. First, we have the Postgres database container also declared as a static field. The image also, that's a pretty nice feature because maybe you are using Postgre 9, or maybe you are using Postgre 16, and a specific feature of Postgres 15. How I can test that without Postgres? You need Postgres. So well, you can use a specific version here and play with that, and manage the initialization. Here I have the script I was mentioned before, and something that we can use for this specific scenario and speed up all the test itself is map all the container data to memory. The main advantage of that is, first, we are running use tests, so we don't need to store this content on disk. So we can just map all the Postgres data to memory, so the test will be running pretty fast. Yeah, and after that we have the the unit test is the same. We pass the data source, and just query for the values. Here I have additional setup, like at the same we mock server. If the container provide the GDBC URL, the password, all that setup without a conflict if we are running multiple test suites at the same time. So let's see. You see here, you will see also the Postgres Rio container is running, Postgres is running, the test finish, Postgres is down, and Rio is listening for additional test containers in the test suites. It waits a little bit and close down. All the resources are free, and we can run a different test if we want. So more or less, that's the, the experience we can have with test containers. What I mentioned before, we can use here different container. We don't need to use a specific Postgres. You can create custom image and use make the reference here, initialize if needed, and use in your test. Another bunch of this, if we are using, for example, GitHub, and we are using the GitHub configuration and CI, it runs behind scenes smoothly. You don't need to install Docker or anything. This is, for example, my setup for this GitHub Actions. And if you see here, I didn't install Docker here. It is just available for us, and just run Maven, and you will get this experience as locally in GitHub at least. If you're running or using a different CI tool, you need to take care of different things, but I just want to mention that. So far, any questions?
Yeah, there is a question by Shoki. So Shoki is saying, if we have a fixed number of ports available for me, so how can we tackle this? Because sometimes you are in a restricted environment or network, there is restriction on the network ports, so you have a fixed ports, like for example, from 8080 to 8090. So I want to have in this range. Is there any possibility in the test containers to allow me to give this to tackle this restriction?
That's a good question. I understand that a scenario you need to check how the image you are using allows that. In my experience, for example, I know that mock server container allows us set a specific port. I never tried set a specific range, but maybe we can check. But at least I know mock server allows you to set a specific port for this test. we'll need to check how we can set a specific range. But yeah, I think that's a common problem. It should be available some solution.
Yeah, sounds good. So I think Mohammed also Amin is saying, yeah, you can fix support, and maybe as a workaround. So maybe we can have the list of ports like in a map, hash map. Then we loop through this hash map and assign it each time to the test container. So we will have only among those the port will be giving among those only.
Yeah, that's also an option. These containers are this API is available, so you can always check the implementation and do your own implementation. Is open for customization. In the past, I create some uh, generic containers, and it was pretty nice. It allows me change multiple things. So I think that's a scenario that we can explore.
Also, Shok is saying we can use generic container with fixed port. So is this also possible?
I think for that scenario, you need to when you create the generic container, there are properties that you can set up, and probably you can set like a sena parameter,
Support.
and that parameter in your container definition use the parameter for the port. That's something that you can do.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you so much.
that's something that in the same way I was when I was using Postgres here, and I was passing parameter. You can build generic container and pass a specific parameter. That's something that the API allows you to do.
Mm. Yeah, sure.
So let me continue with the next slides. Okay. Well, some conclusions I want to share. First, working with test container doesn't require a lot of configuration and setup. Usually, it's a pretty smooth experience. Docker and your testing library, use that, and it's enough. You can use and you can map some directories of your or paths in your container to the memory to improve the performance. Is pretty handy when we work with Postgres databases, and what you can use also with additional containers. So that's something that you can use. Almost the same you can do with Docker Compose, like mapping directory, mapping folders. You can also do with test containers. So taking account that. If you want to reuse the container with the whole test suite, declare as static. If you can do, if you don't want to do that, just declare as regular field. Well, it provides the benefit of 100% database compatibility. As you see in the demo, we can also specify the tag version of the library or the database we are using or we want to use, and the same for Kafka, the same for MariaDB, the same for all the containers. So you can have good confidence that with the real resource, it will behave as expected. Another benefit is manage the whole state. So, the database will start only with the data we set up or at the beginning. And when you run multiple tests, you will have the same response. When we don't have that, we have a specific environment for that. DevOps team or infrastructure team need to take care of that and shut down the database, all of a backup, and manage all that life cycle to have a good state. But with this container, is pretty easy to configure. Well, more information in the website, the test container. Also, there is test container is an open source tool, but also there is a company, Atomic Jar, is a company behind test container and provide test container in the cloud. So you can check both sides if you want to know more. Well, follow in social media. They have a Twitter handle. Well, my name is Juan. I have a blog where I share knowledge. This is my account. This is the presentation link, and you will have over there the presentation and the source code, and we will share this in the chat as well. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm open for any question or comments.
Yeah. If there are any questions by the audience, I think we covered most of the questions in the session. Really was really good introduction session about the test container with some of the examples you gave one. I really appreciate your participation and joining in the first talk in the Riyadh Java group. You are the
The fears of many.
yeah, of course. So we really encourage the audience. Everybody is welcome. Everybody's welcome. Muhammad Amin, thank you so much. Ahmed Abdel Nasser, Shawki. If you'd like to see, is giving talk is not easy. It's very very simple. So you are most welcome also to join us and participate with us. Please, I know everybody has really good knowledge, good experience, good demos. Please come together, let's learn together so we can grow together. We can share our experience. This is the gist, and this is the benefit of the user groups, whatever is, whether it's Java or any language. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much, Juan, for your time, for your presentation. And of course, we will have you can also, guys, visit our Twitter account, Riyadh Java User Group, and there we have also the GitHub repository. We will fork the presentation and the demos also that presented by Juan. We will fork them. So if you want to have reference for your future reference. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody.
Well, thank you. See ya.
See you. Catch you later.